Arts Thornton is proud to present a 70th anniversary history exhibit at the Thornton Arts and Culture Center on display January through December of 2026. The exhibit is called Thornton Yesterday, Thornton Today, Thornton Tomorrow. Come check it out.
What I did essentially was sit myself down in the archives and start going through boxes, and found some very interesting artifacts, a lot of information. These artifacts, they are literally your history. Whether you're a lifetime Thornton resident or whether you're a new arrival, these are the people and the things and the events that shaped what we are today. I don't think people can truly appreciate how things have changed unless they come here to see how it once was. But I would definitely encourage everybody to come here and see this exhibit and read the documents and ask questions. A lot of this stuff is slipping away, and in the digital age, I think it's important to go hands-on. I think it's important to see tangible reminders of where we came from. We'd love everybody in town to come see the exhibit here at Arts and Culture. There are a couple other opportunities that you can learn and see. At Thornton Fest this year, which will be held on June the 6th at Carpenter Fields from 10 a.m. to 9 p.m., select items from the exhibit will be on display. I'll be there to talk to people, and there'll be some other activities. And on June the 2nd at 10 a.m., I'll be hosting a program at the Thornton Active Adult Center, overviewing both the exhibit and the history of Thornton. Please register through the Active Adult program. Love to have you at all three events. For more information, go to artsthornton.com. Thank you very much, and we hope to see you here.